and you've got a few other operating systems that are owned by corporations, which will obviously be forced to enforce these rules. But you've got other more community-related organisations such as Debian, which there isn't a single owner, because it's a more foundation, it's more of a community-led project. So, which makes the issue of who do you prosecute if the operating system owner, quote unquote, doesn't actually implement this age verification system. Because if there isn't a single owner, if there isn't a single development house, production house out there, who do you prosecute?
Well, I mean, yeah, now you're talking about making it complicated. And I would just say, well, first off, can we just not pretend that these people care about children? I mean, Pizzagate, Jamestown, Epstein files. Let's stop pretending like these people care, because they don't. This is surveillance, and well, hold on. But if it is surveillance, then we have a right to say no, and they can try to push the stuff on us in any different kind of form they want to. But if this is something that's enforced, yeah, I'm going to go back to something else. Then I'm going to go back to, if that gets corrupted, I'm going to go back to something else. If I got to have offline computers, I already do this already. I have my offline computers where I do my offline stuff that doesn't need to be accessed. You know, I've had my stuff hacked in the middle of video rendering. You know, it's like, no, I'm just going to have all my offline activities not governed by anybody but myself.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And then, the online stuff, it's just kind of, I like to do a lot of misdirection. You know, my internet activity can be randomized by certain things that I have, some scripts. And so it's useless information. They want to actually monitor myself. So, I mean, in the end, I mean, if this, it has to be proven that children are being affected, and then it needs to be proven that this measure would actually work to protect children. There's just no reason to believe that any age verification software can actually truly monitor the person that is using a computer. Unless there's required, webcam, face recognition, all that stuff, they can go to hell with that.
You know what they're saying as well? They're saying that if you have a kid, but you get if that kid gets on your site and all that, plays any children's game, they're thinking that that you're doing something because there's a child, playing on your site. They were thinking that maybe you're doing something highly, maybe, I don't know how to phrase that, but the person was bringing that up on the court thing.
That's the whole thing. It's like, when do they start accusing you of being a pedophile because you're allowing an underage kid on your site or on your
but it's a slippery slope, because not only is it surveillancing the adults, it is still keeping surveillance on the children, and that, for a pedophile government that we have, we don't want that.
Remember that according to Californian, I think also the Brazilian and the other Colorado and New York bills of California Act and the other bills and Brazil and California acts and the Colorado bill and New York bill. This is related to all software. So, sure, an operating system has to store it locally. So there's no centralized authority here to review it because it's stored locally on your device, the information. But the software has to...
If there's
the software
connection?
So, no, I'll go further into that point in a minute. But as far as the operating system is concerned, software, all software have to be able to access that information and be able to review it. So we're talking about software as simple as, I don't know, a word processor.
Yeah, but at the same time, they got. Then if they can manipulate the whole process, then they need to have it set up to where it can be looked at as they're not the one that's creating it. It's actually happening. Remember how
there's no verification process. So according to any of these acts and bills, there's no verification process. So as a user can create an account on the local computer, stick in any age they want.
Oh no, just not that. If they're able to do that, they'd be able to put whatever they want at any point in time in your computer. They're already gotten to the point where your files on your computer is, well, Roger has came across where things came up missing. Okay.
Yep, me too.
And the only way that can happen is if Microsoft has got that thing to where they can delete things without you knowing anything about it. And if that's the case, they can add it to it.
Well, the thing he's getting at too is like when now it's gotten so ridiculous with Windows programs where they want you to actually have an account on Microsoft in order to freaking have have anything installed into your computer.
Yep.
And now they've also got it to where you have to constantly keep tabs on things that they are wanting to put on your computer as well. Like if you don't approve of AI, you better go in there and make sure that's every time you get an update, you have to make sure that's actually not running. And also like the location, that they actually make it to where every time you get an update that they can monitor where you're located.
In the US, that's true. It's been reported that let's say you switch off OneDrive access at system level in Microsoft Windows, and they switch it back on. Technically, you could make an argument under UK law, under British law, under the Computer Misuse Act 2001, I think, if I remember correctly, that would be a violation of the Computer Misuse Act because they are accessing your machine and modifying your machine without your permission.
Yeah, that would be like what you call copywritten material. What they're saying.
Well, something else that I have, and just on the same train of thought that chat there, them accessing and your information like live while you're on the computer. As I was trying this Windows 11 for the first time a few months ago, I had a program I always have up, I'm constantly using, is Notepad, right? I use Notepad on the Windows 11, and I ended up shutting down the computer accidentally, and I didn't save my work. Usually Notepad will stop you from shutting down, but I have to do a hard shut off. But when I turned the computer back on, I pulled up my notepad, and it has saved tabs. Everything was saved. And I noticed at the top right of the notepad, it has my Teams icon, and it's like an AI co-pilot signed in. That blew me away.
Okay.
Microsoft really taken my information.
Technically, you've agreed to that via the end user. You agreed to that at the time of installation by agreeing to the end user license agreement.
That doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but
Well, irrelevant if it's right or wrong, you've agreed to it.
Here in the
it's a legal
US,
life contract.
here in the US, lawyers was reading that stuff, and they were saying that.
Yeah, Microsoft will have their own lawyers reviewing their own end of.
Well, yeah, but they were looking at that, the thing about you have to say yes or no about you agree about the deal, and they were reading it and all that, and they said it was so far out, drawn out, how many pages of it, and on the way through all of it, it was more than they couldn't tell what they were talking about or what they were saying, but halfway through, because it was a bunch of gibberish, and that's coming from the lawyers. They said that the stuff did not make much sense after you hit about halfway through the thing. That they sat there and read it and all that. They even have it blew up the thing, and he said that the deal that you're doing works for them, not you. So they didn't actually make an agreed upon deal with you.
Well, Robert.
Yeah, on that point of understandability, under EU legislation and various European Economic Area country legislation, contracts have to be written in such a way that it's understandable by the contractor. So the reader
and Robert, that's kind of what I've been getting into too. Like, it's always stacked against you whenever you look at these terms of services. Okay, they're never going to make something out where it's actually something that the person who's using the platform is going to agree on. Like and that's what you see in all of these platforms. That's why I walked away from Facebook. That's why I'm ready to walk away from YouTube, and I'm just sick and tired of it. You know what I mean? Because
as a video content creator, you can't really walk away from these platforms because this is bread and butter.
You can if you're brave enough to do it. You know, I mean, and the thing of it is I get pretty much nothing from YouTube whatsoever. And
yes, but again, audience, my old thing about bums on seats.
Well, I mean, it's fine if that was the case, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's getting so bad with these terms of services and these porn games that people are just getting sick of it. You know what I mean? I left Facebook because of the nonsense. Okay. When I posted something 10 years ago, I shouldn't freaking be hit with a freaking content warning because of something I posted 10 years ago.
Speaking of which, side note, somebody has hit my documentaries on YouTube and has flagged me.
For what?
Copyright, which doesn't apply because it's all transformative. And everything's commented on. I've even transformed every piece of video that I used. Reversed it, changed the color, changed the speed. So no actual system within YouTube flagging. It's some hater who came about.